Joining me now, Schlapp, a veteran Republican strategist and Trump surrogate. Great to see you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Great to be with you.
Well, you know Florida well. She seems to be getting a bump in Florida and a couple of other swing states. We don't know what to attribute it to, but these are the first real polls since the debate that, and these are online SurveyMonkey polls seem to indicate that somewhat. But Trump, up early or up late? I don't know how to describe the Twitter storm in the middle of the night. Podesta taking a shot at him on Twitter saying, you know, I'm almost his age, and I get up in the middle of the night, but, you know, safety tip, don't reach for the phone. Why can't he let go of this Alicia Machado thing? It's not arguably helping him at all.
No, I don't think, first of all, I think he is just a type of person who is very high energy. In my interactions with him, he's just going all the time. I don't think he requires that much sleep, and he has an active brain. And yes, there are times when us supporters would wish he would not be able to find that phone, like I can at times, you know, especially in the middle of the night. My wife accuses me of tweeting too much too. But look, I think if we're not talking about the economy, Andrea, and beating terrorists, disrupting Washington, and, you know, Hillary Clinton scandals, then it's the day we lose. So when we're talking about other things, I give the Clinton campaign credit. Anytime they can get us off those topics, it's a better day for them, because her numbers are so negative on these central questions, and her own negatives are so high. She's got to make the campaign about something else.
Well, and in fact, to that point, if you look at the debate, the first 20 minutes where he's talking about trade and the economy.
He owned it.
And then she seemed to really get him off message by saying that his father had put up the $14 million with which he had built his empire.
Right.
And that got into his head somehow, and he kept returning to his business in ways that were not appealing.
That's right.
Am I making a
I was
fair
on the
case
ground
here?
at Hofstra, and I think there's something that is authentic about him in the sense that he will answer these questions. You know that as a reporter, he's very available to reporters, and he actually
used to be. More so.
But he has been more available than any presidential candidate we've seen in so long. We usually like to keep our candidates behind veils and moats and walls, and we don't want them too available, and he answers the questions. Now, the problem is when you answer all the questions, you don't focus on what you want to focus on. And when he was talking about trade, regulations, the economy, and jobs, he owned that stage, and that's what he's got to do.
Now, Cuba. There's a new report from Newsweek from Kurt Eichenwald, and it says that, and he's got documentation, that the Trump organization in 1998 paid an intermediary to go to Cuba and try to see if he could solicit business for the Trump organization under the cover of being a charity, which was the only way you could do that then under the embargo. And Trump has repeatedly denied, he denied as recently as yesterday to New England cable television that he had ever done business, which may well be accurate. But it was even a violation to go and try to solicit business. This, you know, knowing how tight Florida can be and how important Florida could be to him, this, do you think, could have an impact on
this is an issue near and dear to my heart. My father-in-law spent 6 years in a Castro prison. I'm a strong believer in the embargo. I don't work for Donald Trump. I don't work for his organization. When he tells me he did not do business in Cuba and did not violate the law, I believe him. And I think the real issue on Cuba is that President Obama has actually reached out to the Castros and has actually opened up relations with them. He is the one who has been weak on this question of Cuba. He's been weak on not only in Cuba and in Iran with the mullahs. And I think Hillary Clinton is a part of that policy. Let's get to the policy, the underlying policy. Donald Trump says he wants to go back to saying that we will not deal with the Castro brothers. I think it's the right policy. That's what the voters in Florida are going to care about.
But as someone whose family, whose in-laws are Cuban American,
they are,
who know that issue and how it is, especially with the older generation of Cuban Americans, if it can be established that he, while saying he was observing the embargo, was actually violating the embargo for his own business dealings, could that shake some votes in the Cuban American community? Even
raising the fact that these things might have happened are politically problematic in southern Florida, which is why this is being raised, in my opinion. I'm not questioning the reporter, but which is why I think the politics are good for Clinton. Until you realize that she is someone who completely is an architect and a supporter of the Obama policy of appeasing the Castros. She is not standing on very solid ground if she's to criticize Donald Trump. I take Donald Trump on his word that he did not do anything to abridge the embargo.
Fair point. And by the way, right now we are looking at a replica of the Oval Office, the Gerald Ford Museum, the Presidential Library Museum, a place I know well in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Donald Trump touring the museum with those guides from the Gerald Ford Museum. It's a pretty wonderful place as you look at that. But at the same time, there's not a single former president, Republican president, who has endorsed Donald Trump. We know, we've confirmed that George Herbert Walker Bush is not going to vote for Donald Trump, and that Jeb Bush now says he won't vote in the presidential race.
Well, don't look for me to criticize the Bush family. I work for President George W. Bush. I revere that family. My wife does as well. Wonderful people, but we have a lot of former Republican presidents who are with the last name of Bush, and obviously Jeb Bush, that's a very personal thing for them. I forgive them their family understanding of trying to, support their brother a lot more than people like Mitt Romney. But look, here's the fact. The last poll showed 9 out of 10 Romney supporters are with Trump. This party and the conservative movement generally is getting behind Trump. It is happening. And actually, Hillary actually has bigger problems with millennials and Obama supporters. Only 8 out of 10 are with her. I think there should be some focus on that as well.
Oh, we've been focusing on that.
I know
she's got a big issue with that.
She does.
And her speech in Florida today on national service speech was aimed at millennials, and a Mary Jo Blige video that they put out today. They know they've got a problem. It's great to see you.